Hello, I'm Alan Gano, and this is my wife Judy Gano. And we joined the Presbyterian Church of Wilmington on February 15th, 1998. Judy, would you like to tell folks why we joined the church?
Oh, I'd be glad to. After our daughter Jacqueline was born, we decided that it'd be important for us to become involved in one of the local church families. So we visited lots of churches in our county. I think we had it narrowed down to about 3 when we started spearheading a community project to have a castle-top playground built in Wilmington using community volunteers and community resources. We were so impressed with the willingness of the members of the Presbyterian Church to help us with that project, even though we weren't members of the church. I think it was that action on the part of the members of the church that let us know that the Wilmington Presbyterian Church was where we needed to be. And as Alan said, after the playground was built and dedicated, we officially joined the church.
In this video, you'll hear from the Reverend David Holly and others about some of the mission projects that the church has been involved in the past years. Those include mission events here in Wilmington, and they also include mission in Detroit and in New Orleans. And there was a special mission in Ghana, West Africa, to build a community building. The church was involved in that.
I believe they went 3 different times for that.
Okay. We hope you'll enjoy this bicentennial video.
Well, Claudia, you played a pretty large role in all our transition. When our pastor left, you were the clerk, which is like the head civilian in the church.
Yeah.
And when we started our outdoor drive-in worship,
and that was terrific.
we didn't have a pastor. Claudia, what are you doing? Can you speak?
Yeah,
Sure.
to everybody. We're blessed
But
that
you were
way.
one of the very first.
Yeah, we're
What
blessed
are
that
your
way.
memories about that?
We have a lot of people willing to come and worship for us and with us. Well, I felt like you say, I was the top civilian. Who else is going to do it?
Yeah.
And because I care so much about this church, of course I was willing to do anything. I was in a hard position where I didn't know what to do, to tell you the truth, but we had leadership in Dayton and of course here, you all, and we were determined, I think as determined as I was, to make that work.
Could you talk a little bit about the influence of the Ku Klux Klan coming to Clinton County on our church?
Oh yeah, I'll do this fast. Bill Peel was prosecutor, Nick Evelyn was mayor, and they knew that the Klan was going to come here on October 23rd. It was after the Democrat convention, and the first or second stop that Clinton and Gore made after they were nominated was here. And when Bill Clinton I was standing right there, Bill Clinton gets off the bus and he sees only a few people on the north concourse to the courthouse, and you could tell he wasn't happy. But the closer he gets, he looks over and he sees the west concourse, and he stops and he looks over at Gore because they came in on 2 different buses, and he says, "Wow, this is Clinton County." That's a little footnote.
Yeah.
I think in terms of footnotes. In October of 1993, the Ku Klux Klan came to town. And prior to their arrival, leadership in town knew what was going to happen. Nick Evelyn called a meeting. About 40 people from the community went to this meeting. And he said, we need to plan alternative events. And within a short time, 4 members of this congregation, and that would have been Nick Evelyn, Bill Peel, Rick Johnson, somebody else, and Art Brooks from the college, became the leadership committee to get the ball rolling for the first community day. The second part of getting that ball rolling involved people mostly from this church. Joe Miller, Stephen Diane Hine, Don Chafin, Ed Loving, others really stepped up to provide an alternative event to the Klan. One of the best things that happened the day before, Rick Johnson was manager radio station, and he came on the air and had a very brief editorial, and he said, "The Klan's coming, nothing we can do about that, go to the alternative events." But the last thing he said, and it was absolutely fascinating, he said, "We hope that after the Klan leaves, we can say, we're glad the Klan came to town." What happened as a result of the Klan coming to town? The very first thing that happened within 6 or 7 weeks, a partnership emerged between the city of Wilmington and the Kettering Foundation in Dayton. That partnership was designed to spawn some projects that would help bring people together. An offshoot of that, we partnered with Wilmington College for the Hot Hoops late night basketball team. And then we also developed this concept, and some of you participated in it, to gather diverse groups of people and put them together around a table. I think we had 20, 30 tables, I forget, 4 or 5 people, 5 or 6 people at the table, to engage in civil discourse about issues here in Wilmington and Clinton County. The most important thing that happened, we began Habitat for Humanity. The first meeting for Habitat here in Wilmington took place in the courthouse. And the people who were there, once again, Presbyterian leadership, Rick Stanforth, Don Chafin, Frank Shaw, Bill Peel, somebody else from the congregation. And that group grew. Its next meeting added 5 more people from this congregation and 2 other Presbyterians from Yellow Springs to help us figure out what we were going to do. Okay, that first Habitat house was completed in 94 or 95. How many Habitat houses have been built since then? Any idea? 20? Well, at any rate, 3 years later, the Klan came back. And Rick did another editorial on the radio program. He said, "The visit by the Klan to Clinton County in October of 1993 sent a wake-up call to many city, county, and community leaders. A wake-up call to do a self-evaluation of our perspective on ethnic and cultural diversity, employment attitudes, and racial relationships. Positive planning began to emerge. Study circles comprised of the diverse cross-section of our community were held to discuss these issues. We established our first community day. Habitat for Humanity started its first Clinton County home. The Hot Hoops program was developed and implemented to give many of our young people contact with community leaders as positive role models." And he concluded that editorial, "Thank you, Ku Klux Klan, for coming to Clinton County. Without your visit, we may not have had positive progress in our cultural diversity perspectives." Just a little bit of the history of this remarkable church. The kind of leadership that emerged from these pews, the kind of leadership that was able to do some pretty good things under that umbrella of Matthew 25.
Affect you, the fact that you were actively involved with a fairly large group of Christian men?
Well, that was a nice thing about it, because when I'd been in the military and all, you're with a lot of people, but you're not with a lot of people that particularly think the same way or anything. But with this Presbyterian group, the men were pretty close together. They all worked and lived right here in town, and that was a nice thing about it. We had people from the mayor on down as members of the Presbyterian Church, fire department, police department, anything you want to know. And so we were together, and the fact that we worked together made us better acquainted, and the fact that we were Christians together, I think it just made us feel important. That's one thing that I've missed over the years.
Could you talk a little bit about Our Father's Kitchen and how our church had been involved and got you involved?
Sure. I started volunteering at Sugar Tree Ministries, and Your Father's Kitchen is a part of Sugar Tree Ministries. I started in 2003, and I went on their board in 2005 and have been ever since. This church is a marvelous church for mission. So mission oriented, and local mission, national mission, international mission, but special, I think, as far as how this church reacts towards Sugar Tree and the many needs. We're in the middle of a food drive right now for Sugar Tree. Usually we do that once or twice a year, and Dave and I run the food pantry there, so we pretty much know when things are really low, and they're very low right now. So that's when our church jumps in, when the need is the greatest. We do a meal the second Thursday of the month. We do the dinner meal, and we serve about 125 people now.
This church does that meal?
Yes. Yes. And we have many people from church who are regular volunteers there, not just on meal nights, but other times during the week also.
A memory that I relive every single day, and that is when Tom Martin was here, and I don't really even know what he called it. It wasn't a full baptism, but it was a rethinking of baptism or something, and everybody in the church had a chance to stand up and go up to the pulpit. And after the little baptism, whatever it was, he gave you a stone. I carried that stone every day of my life since Tom Martin gave that to me. So that's been 15 years or so. So every day I stick it in my pocket and I think of Tom and think of the church.
Think of the mission trips we've all taken. Everybody here's been on mission trips, 2 or 3 trips at least down to New Orleans after the big hurricane Katrina hit down there, and the camaraderie, and it's not just about always fun and games. Sometimes it's the sweat, the labor you put into it, then you enjoy each other afterwards type of thing. We took 3 different trips with some of the youth up to Detroit to clean out the houses up there and things, and those are really fun times, and the people that do that really come away with some lasting memories for sure.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what church is.
Doesn't even include the mission trips to Ghana.
Right.
Yeah, that was 3 different groups that did that. So,
which David talked about in the pulpit a couple weeks ago.
The leadership of the Miami Presbytery decided that we needed to be involved in a mission project with an impoverished Presbyterian church in Ghana. And there was a team, an exploratory team, that assembled. Bruce Saunders was a member of that team, went to Africa, met with the people in Ghana, made some plans, came back, and this was a very popular mission project. People throughout the presbytery wanted to be part of it. About the time that the construction team, I mean, this is kind of like a huge habitat project, but half a world away. By the time the team was assembled, our executive presbyter called and he said, "We've got a problem. There are a lot of people in this team that can do some construction stuff, a lot of do-it-yourselfers, but nobody on that team knows anything about building a building." He said, "We're in trouble." He said, "Do you know anybody who might help us out from the Wilmington congregation?" And I said, "Well, yeah, maybe." So I talked to Avery and I said, "Avery, does this appeal to you?" And I really thought he might say no. But he thought about it, and maybe Bruce had told him about the need over there, I don't know. But Avery said, "I'll tell you what, if Frank goes, I'll go." And so Avery designed a list of everything that they needed to have in place over there. Frank, if you've ever seen Frank's flow charts, I mean, these are meticulous. Everything that has to be done on this day, this day, this day. Sent that stuff over, and the expectation was when the team showed up that the footers would be in and they'll go right to the building. So you can guess what happened. They get over in Ghana and nobody'd done anything. And so most of the members of the construction team were understandably depressed. And some of them wanted to come home. But here again, you get Avery and Frank, and they had to scrap their original plans and improvise, and in the end, accomplished a remarkable goal, building a much-needed multi-purpose facility that would function as a worship area, certainly, could function for education. It functioned for food distribution and functioned as a clinic.